Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Get ready for Talking Heads, the show where expert insights meet world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Brought to you by USA Global TV and Radio. Meet our distinguished presenters. From the great state of Texas, longevity expert, award-winning author, publisher, and distinguished Toastmaster, Red O'Loughlin. From London, England, soul heart awakener, novelist, vocal coach, and artist, Dr. Madeline Chan. Also from England, the Harley Street stress expert, therapist, ambassador for peace, and speaker, Carolyn Heward. And from Australia, ICF PCC credentialed coach, entrepreneur, and leadership coach, Mariska Dupria. Experience their expertise, connect with their wisdom, and transform your perspective. Watch Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. This video and its contents are the property of USA Global TV and Radio. All rights reserved. Terms and conditions apply. Visit usaglobaltv.com for more details.
Howdy, Red O'Loughlin here. We're on Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And today's show, what would I do regarding Alzheimer's options? And as we go through the slide presentation today, I'll be giving you some specific information that I've dug up over time. During COVID, I wrote 43, I think, articles and posted them on my website and on LinkedIn and other places regarding what are some potential causes of Alzheimer's. And we'll get into the details with regard to that. So let's go ahead and pull up the slides for today and get started. Okay. We are live streaming on Amazon Fire, Zizzle TV, E360 TV, a couple different channels on YouTube on the USA Global TV, Android TV, Apple TV, social media. And I have 2 simulcasts that are going on my social media with regard to my Facebook personal page and my author page, and lots of others. And there's probably 15 or more live streaming shows, and then another half a dozen or more on the audio podcasts that occur after the show is over. As always, I'm not a physician, not a doctor, never been in that area, so the presentation I'm making today is for awareness and education. My books, my information, I'll get into the details here in a minute when I give a disclaimer, but the books I have right now, these 6, I have a couple other ones that I'm working on, but no matter what you can do, it talks about the subconscious brain, subconscious mind. Joy of Ageless Health talks about the primary causes of disease at the cellular level. Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging. I'm updating that one right now, but that mentions 2 specific causes that have some level of control. The Understanding the Causes of Alzheimer's is the book that I'll be talking about today. And then Essential Author's Guide is basically how do you write and publish a book for free? And Failure is Not an Option is my latest book, and I based that one on the early Mercury program that NASA did way back when. The program today for live shows, and all live shows, can be found on YouTube on USA Global TV/streams. If you're looking for a former program, go to archives on that same YouTube, or you can find my archive shows on my website on redolaughlin.com. My disclaimer: I'm never been in the medical field. I'm not associated with any pharmaceutical, never worked in that area. But I fell in love with chemistry at a very young age, high school, got my first degree, and I ended up getting 4 additional degrees after that. I was unable to practice chemistry as a chemist, as something I really wanted to do, but I got an invitation to Vietnam early on, and so that changed my focus in many areas. So my degrees are all in different subjects. Things happen for a reason, and just because of what was going on, I felt like I needed to get more training and accreditation. I have 7 professional certifications. Retired Navy captain, put 31 plus years in, been to 61 countries. My focus when I research, which is my primary function in life, is to research cause and effect relationships. Now, when I'm looking at it from a chemical perspective, cellular level in the body. If you can treat a cause, you can generally fix something. But if not, you're treating symptoms, but the cause is still there, and it may get worse. My wife and I have been married 56 years, 2 kids, 3 grandkids, and our first great grandson just turned 1 a couple of months ago. Best-selling author of 8 books, independent publisher. I've done over 40 books for other authors, distinguished Toastmaster. As a writer, I published over 1,000 original content articles on LinkedIn. And the information that I put out today on Alzheimer's is primarily for information education. If you need medical advice, seek a professional, talk to your doctor. Last year, 2024, I was, for my show called The Wise Ones, I was the number 2 and the number 6 presenter on that show. And they have about 60 shows they do on a monthly basis on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Okay, my book, Understanding the Causes of Alzheimer's. Again, it's a compilation of a bunch of different, about 40 plus articles I've written. And it goes into a lot more than just what you find out when you Google what causes Alzheimer's. A lot of the stuff I'm presenting today is in that book in a lot more detail. And I'm also presenting a lot of stuff that's not in that book, not a lot, but a fair amount of stuff that I'm preparing for today's topic. I said, well, they really need to know about this. So let's kind of get into the show. Alzheimer's. I think there's not anybody out there who doesn't know what it is, haven't run into somebody, have a friend, family member, even a spouse or close family relationship, that Alzheimer's or some form of dementia is there. Now, dementia generally talks about a loss of cognitive function. Alzheimer's, they say anywhere from 60 to 80% of all dementia is generally classified as Alzheimer's. And even within Alzheimer's, there's certain breakdowns, but we're just going to generically talk about Alzheimer's today. It's a progressive disease. You catch it early onset Alzheimer's, and it just kind of lives a life of its own and progressively gets worse. It's a degenerative disorder. It affects our memory, our thinking, and eventually our behavior. I mentioned most common form. You end up with a gradual decline in brain cells, and when those decline, they degrade, their connectivity to the rest of the brain starts to fade. So it leads to an overall inability to think the way we do when we're healthy. What are typical symptoms? I think most people will agree. You run into somebody and they'll say, they'll ask you a question. Then it seems like it's a minute, 2 minutes later, they ask you the same question again. Okay, I thought I just answered that one. And then another minute or two, the same question comes right back. So repeat questions is a very, very common symptom of Alzheimer's, especially early on. People with Alzheimer's generally have more difficulty making decisions. As the disease progresses, a lot of confusion with time and place, a lot of misplacing things. Now, as we get older, there's just a normal aging process that we forget things. Where did I put the keys at? What's that person's name? Why did I come in the kitchen? Lots of things there that are going on that are age related that are not necessarily Alzheimer's or dementia. In fact, when you start looking at Alzheimer's, really doesn't start till 65, and even at 65, out of 100 people, only 2 people generally get diagnosed with Alzheimer's. About 10% of Alzheimer's patients get that disease earlier than age 60, 65. But it's mainly a disease that we see with the elderly. A lot of risk associated with Alzheimer's. And some things that we don't even think about can contribute to the disease or the progression of the disease or confusion in that. Uh, Tracy Cram Perkins is another presenter here on the USA Global TV and Radio Network, and she has a great book, super great book on care as a caregiver. How do you take care of people? She's had, I think, 4 primary people in her life that she's had to care for. Very, very excellent book on how do you address people, how do you take care of them properly. So, but cardiovascular disease is not an uncommon thing that goes along with it. Believe it or not, some kinds of air pollution can actually make Alzheimer's a little bit worse. Even though you wouldn't think that they would have a problem with quality of sleep. Quality of sleep can contribute and also be a potential problem down the road. Head injuries, any kind of traumatic brain injury can create all sorts of problems. Alcohol consumption kills some of those little gray cells up there. Sedentary lifestyle, again, you're not getting the blood and throw the oxygen. If you have Alzheimer's, they have a tendency, dehydration. They're not interested in drink because they don't recognize the same bodily clues that I really need something to drink. Dental problems. There's always a present fire danger if somebody with Alzheimer's is cooking because they'll forget what they're doing and walk away. Money problems, getting lost, paying bills, lots and lots and lots and lots of things that are risks associated with somebody with Alzheimer's. So it's one of those things that it starts developing in your home. Take a lot of time to figure out what do you really need to do to be aware of and what you can do to help. Okay, so now if you ask a doctor what causes Alzheimer's, or you look it up on Google, almost every single person is going to tell you say amyloid beta plaque that's clumping up and causes a loss of connectivity from the neural perspective in the brain, from that nerve back into the part of the brain that needs that connectivity. Or it's what they call a tau tangle. You have a protein called tau, T-A-U, and it basically wraps around this nerve structure. And when it starts tangling up, you end up with being strangled almost. And again, you end up with loss of function of that neuron and loss of function or connectivity. And that's the two things. Now, it wasn't that long ago, we say with the last couple of years, that some of the major, I should have put that slide in, but some of the major research that says that amyloid beta proteins are really one of the major causes. It turns out there was some playing with slides, so let's be on the plain side. There were some issues there that maybe that's really not it. And so it's got kind of a tither going on with, well, do I really want to spend my money going down that path if it's really not a good path? But anyway, doesn't matter. It's there. You're going to see tau tangles. You're going to see amyloid beta plaques. Those are the primary results. But what causes those things to happen? Well, we know that as you get older, you're more susceptible. Your genes, some chronic diseases, hypertension, diabetes, obesity, an unhealthy lifestyle, poor nutrition. We'll talk about that here very quickly. Exercise, again, you're not getting the oxygen into the brain. Any kind of head trauma. And when you start having head trauma and Alzheimer's, you start looking at things such as hearing loss and vision loss that can contribute. Lots and lots and lots of things that are out there that if you say, what causes it? But it's basically the two things that doctors say, the amyloid beta protein and the tau protein. So, but what really can cause you to have a problem with regard to dementia and eventually Alzheimer's? Well, if you take a look at something simple like vitamin B12, cobalamin, if you're deficient, I'm talking about deficient for a long period of time, that deficiency mimics Alzheimer's. In fact, most gerontologists will give you a B12 shot right off the bat just to see if that's the problem you have. But if you're deficient in B12, B9, folic acid, B6, those generally increase homocysteine levels. Homocysteine levels, high levels, have been found in a lot of Alzheimer's patients. So you're saying, oh, maybe the homocysteine is one of the problems that's there. So B1 also, there's a lot of B vitamins that they get used in the brain. Vitamin E, you end up with 4-tocopherols and 4-tocotrienols. One of the tocotrienols is called alpha tocotrienol, and I believe that's the one that if you have literally almost nothing, but you have some in your brain, you have a stroke, it's going to cause the brain to shift where that blockage is in the blood vessel to another dormant blood vessel. And the result is that most times you will never have any side effects from having a stroke that most people have, because they don't have that particular vitamin up there. So if you're deficient in vitamin E, there's a lot of speculation that that can cause some other issues going on. But vitamin D3, vitamin K2, beta carotene, vitamin C, vitamin A, a lot of your antioxidants, they're not up there doing the job they need to do. I've had a lot of success with people in my family with phospholipids. We make 4 of them. One of them's called phosphatidylserine. You can buy it in pill form at online or at a lot of health stores. And when you look at just like B12, your body makes less and less and less as you get older of the phosphatidylserine. The side effects is early onset Alzheimer's. My brother-in-law had it. He's a Catholic priest, and they had to retire him early. Usually they retire at 75, but he couldn't tell you what year it was, had no concept. We put him on phosphatidylserine, and literally within about 2 months, he could tell you what was on TV last night, what he had for breakfast this morning, what he was looking forward to seeing tonight. A totally different person with just that one change in his supplement. As with almost any problem, we talked about this here recently, any kind of mitochondrial issue can cause problems. So if I'm not taking care of my mitochondrial in my cells, then a potential problem from a nutritional deficiency is going to be an increased risk of Alzheimer's. Propranolol, PQQ, is one of those few things that can pass through the blood-brain barrier. Well, some chemicals, as they're fighting free radicals, they donate an electron to stabilize everything. Vitamin C can donate 6 electrons. So basically that one vitamin C can take care of 6 attacks going on right now without disrupting anything else. Well, propranolol can actually regenerate itself 25,000 times. So you get one molecule of that in your brain. It's like having an army of 25,000 antioxidants up there countering the effects of free radical damage. Genetic persuasion. Most of everything happens with Alzheimer's is after age 65, but they have this thing, it's called an early onset familial, misspelled that one, Alzheimer's disease. And it's a gene that can cause Alzheimer's at a much earlier age. You can also have problems with this amyloid precursor protein, APP. If that particular one is on chromosome 21, your genetic persuasion is going to be a little bit higher. The presenilin 1 on chromosome 14 and 2 on chromosome 1 also increase your risk of, and a lot of these things can be tested for. And the apolyprotein E, there's 3 different ones, E2, E3, and E4. Well, the E4 is the one you really need to look out for, particularly that's the one that gives you your greatest increase. Just because you have it doesn't mean it's there. It just means the risk is there. Okay, proton pump inhibitors, and it's a drug that is used to treat a lot of different things, but they found out that if you have long-term use of it, long-term to the medical field is 4 years or longer, they've seen a 33% increase in Alzheimer's, and primarily because it increases the production of that alpha beta protein, that plaque that forms. And again, most of these things are observational studies because it's not one of the ones that they go in, let's just go ahead and do a clinical study. It costs money. And there's a lot of problems. They can do studies on animals, but when you start doing studies on humans, totally different world. So most of the things that I'm talking about are observational studies. There are some studies that I'll refer to, but you can go online and look up any one of these things and see exactly what's there. But a lot of the animal studies, they can dissect the brain of a dog or whatever and say, okay, this is what that did. And so you're looking at a similar pathology of how this disease progresses in animals, and they're applying it to humans because they haven't done those kinds of studies. But there's a lot of drugs out there. I was amazed. I mean, just a pile of them that contribute. They say these things can also increase your risk of Alzheimer's. Blood pressure medicine, pain, statin drugs for cholesterol, motion sickness, chemo drugs, sleep aids, and it goes on and on and on and on. I couldn't believe how many have some finger in the Alzheimer's world. It just blew my mind a bit. A thing called lipid peroxidation. You were talking about Physin is a flavonoid in fruits and vegetables. And I think it's probably going to be one of the next major reversals of Alzheimer's. It's found in strawberries, apples, grapes, onions, and more. A lot of fruits and vegetables have Physin in it. They actually modified the Physin CMS 121, and they started treating animals and had major success with reversing Alzheimer's. They found out that the lipid peroxidation destroys brain cells, but that CMS 121 reverses that. It basically neutralizes that peroxidation. That any kind of oxidation is a process by which cells are being destroyed. So they did a bunch of clinical trials. The last one's in 2021. They tested 10 different flavonoids, and Physin is still the best. So increase your eating of grapes, apples, onions, strawberries, because the natural one will work. We don't know how much the dosage rate is, but I think it's a very promising field. Your second brain, your gut. If your gut is in good shape, your brain is generally pretty good. But you have a lot of problems in your gut, you're going to have problems affecting your brain because the two talk to each other. So you have inflammation in the gut, you're probably going to have inflammation in the brain. A lot of studies on human and animal gut transfer that say, yeah, this gut problem can create a brain problem. And so they've substantiated that with a lot of testing. So some of the things that they say help: probiotics, prebiotics, and this thing called fecal microbiota transplant. Yeah, they take fecal matter out of one person who's healthy and put it into another person. Sounds strange, but it kind of stabilizes the gut. If you have a lot of dietary fiber, create sodium butyrate. That also has been shown to improve the symptoms and lower the progression of Alzheimer's disease. One of the things I fell in love with chemistry was all the symbols and the figures and everything. Green tea has a catechin. It has a lot of catechins, but one of the catechins is epigallocatechin gallate. And I just, for fun, I decided to put up what the chemical name of that particular catechin is. But they've seen, particularly in a lot of animal studies, the green tea actually remodels or reshapes the protein structure for amyloid beta protein. And what does that mean? Well, if you look at the amyloid beta, it sits right on top of a protein. I mean, almost like a glove. And so if you can change the structure of the protein, then all of a sudden it falls off. It can't sit there. So you end up with a corrective problem, a preventive problem, because that amyloid beta protein can't sit on top of a nerve cell. It falls off. And they also found by doing MRI studies that where that nerve cell was, they thought to be dead, it was either replaced by another one or came back to life. So a lot of things are there for green tea. Prevents a lot of amyloid beta aggregates from forming because of the protein structure remodeling. It disrupts the fibril formation. A lot of other catechins in green tea, very, very healthy. And they're saying at least 3 cups a day. Autophagy, one of my favorite subjects. Autophagy is how the body cleans itself at the cellular level. And you usually turn it on by fasting. At least 16 hours, and you turn it on 1%, then 2%, and then 3%. After 72 hours, you're at 100%. But it's where the metabolic trash contained inside our cells is removed. The stuff that's still maybe workable gets recycled, and you get it back. But there's a lot of problems in the brain, but in all parts of our body, because we don't fast enough for that to be an issue. So we never have autophagy. It ends up in the brain. A lot of inflammation, a lot of mutations. They've identified two particular genes that the mutation occurs at, but these alpha amyloid beta cells and autophagy start creating a problem that we're not allowing the autophagy process to work properly, dysregulation. And as such, I can't clean the cells out. They stay clogged up. Big problem. Research is continuing. Type 2 diabetes is basically an insulin resistance issue, high blood sugar. Well, they coined a term called type 3 diabetes, where the brain cells become resistant to insulin. Major disruptions in the cell function and communication, just like you would have anywhere else in your body. Brain inflammation and insulin resistance are related. And having diabetes, regular type 2 diabetes, gives you systemic inflammation, can also play a role in the development and formation and progression of Alzheimer's disease. Curcumin, one of my two favorite chemicals. Turmeric. Anytime you take curcumin or turmeric, always make sure it has piperine, a black pepper extract, because it increases the bioabsorbability hundreds of times. It's an anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. It reduces the amyloid beta formation and aggregation. Lots of things in there. We'll talk a little bit about that down the road on another subject in this presentation. Improves cognitive function, and they found out that vitamin D3 also enhances the immune function along with curcumin. Something we really should be taking. Resveratrol, another one with piperine. There's several of them out there. But it's a polyphenol. Great antioxidant. And it'll go through the blood-brain barrier. Very neuroprotective. The amyloid beta and neurotrophic tangles. It minimizes the connectivity issues associated with it. And they said, well, if wine does it, what about beer? They did several studies, and no significant change in beer drinkers. But red wine drinkers, yeah, a measurable decrease in the risk of getting Alzheimer's. Another thing that the red wine does, the resveratrol, is that there's a certain one, it's an activation, a part of the cellular body, but it increases your cellular health and longevity, and it does the same inside the brain. Light and sound show. They found out that 40 hertz stimulates the brain in a particular area the gamma ray is getting into. And when the light is flashing, it reduces that amyloid beta aggregation that there's in. The also added sound with it, and it also slowed the neurodegeneration. And they did a bunch of other studies, and they showed about a 65% improvement in the slowing down, or not necessarily reversal, but improvement in the progression of the disease. It's non-invasive, reduces the plaque formation, and it stimulates neural activity and connectivity. So I think this is going to be another one. A lot of tests being done right now that eventually will probably have some kind of head thing we wear and turn it on, and is part of the treatment. Okay. Chemical imbalances. Again, we talked about nutrient imbalances earlier on. There are so many different chemicals in the brain. I happen to pick one here called acetylcholine. And when they start looking at patients with Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, that's another dementia one, the acetylcholine levels are very, very low. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter. So if it's low, you're not getting the cells talking to each other, the nerves talking to each other. And they found that, there's a lot of drugs out there that are trying to say, let's build up the acetylcholine. Okay, we build it up. Now you get better transmission. But why take a drug if you can naturally increase something? I'm not a big on drugs, so sometimes you got to take them. But choline is what produces that acetylcholine in the brain. But meats and fish, dairy, eggs, lots of things have choline. Might be something to consider. Statin drugs. Statin drugs, I have no idea why they were creating you. You go back 40, 50 years, nobody worried about cholesterol unless it was over 400 or 800 or whatever. And then, you come, 20 years later, okay, 300, now we're 200. And it seems like it's a problem that was created because somebody had a drug. That's my personal opinion. Don't know that to be true. Just seems that way. But they know that statin drugs have certain issues. But regardless, when you start looking at statin drugs and Alzheimer's, there's a problem in there. But the problem is that not all of the testing shows the same results. Our bodies, we need cholesterol. We get it, we make it ourselves. We get it through the foods we eat. The brain, every cell in our body needs cholesterol. The brain needs it a lot. But if my HDL, LDL cholesterol levels are on the very high side, it's looking like my amyloid beta plaque development increases much more substantially. So it's one of those ones that you really need to look at your family history and a lot of other things. So talk to your doctor about that one. If you're on a statin drug and you're starting to see issues with Alzheimer's or some symptoms associated where might be some research to do on that one. pH. This is the measure of acidity and alkalinity in the body. 7 is 0, perfect neutral. 1 to 7 is acidic. The lower the number, the higher the acidity. Same thing. 8 to 14 is alkaline. The higher the number, the greater the alkalinity. Well, what they found out is a lot of people with Alzheimer's disease, if they have low pH in their body, they're acidic, and that's almost a standard way we live. It increases the risk of development progression of Alzheimer's. And then acidosis in the brain itself leads to brain aging. So what causes your body to have increased acidic levels? Well, carbohydrates, fats, proteins, just normal metabolic activity. Anything outside of fruits and vegetables is going to cause your body to become acidic. It takes a lot of effort to keep your body in an alkaline, particularly above 7.4, which is the pH of your blood. Otherwise, your blood stream is going to leach calcium from your bones. Now you're going to start having bone porosity issues. A lot of things there. I got some personal experience with that when I was on Atkins for a number of years. I've talked about it many times in the past. But when they start looking at this thing, they have this HDAC. It's a histone acetylase inhibitor. And it's basically used now to treat cancer. But they're finding out that these histones they wrap around your DNA and they kind of relax everything, allow the transmission of information to go back and forth. But when the inhibitors are not there, everything tightens up. So if I can use a histone inhibitor, and that's like your curcumin and your resveratrol and some other things, they're starting to say this may be a way of treating Alzheimer's. HDACs can't go through the blood-brain barrier, but there's some natural things there that we might be able to do. A lot of work in progress on that one. Our blood-brain barrier prevents many options from being there, but one of the ones that it does permit is a lion's mane mushroom. And it's been shown to really improve mild Alzheimer's and cognitive decline, promotes neurogenesis, brain cell growth, promotes enzymes that reduce the plaques of amyloid beta. It's an anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Fenchol, it's a terpene. It reduces neurotoxicity. In our gut, we make these short-chain fatty acids that activate. Hang on one second. I hate to do this. Let's see here. It's good enough. Okay. Our guts make these short-chain fatty acids. Well, if you get these short-chain fatty acids, they activate what's called a free fatty acid receptor 2. And this actually protects against toxic buildup of amyloid beta. Well, fenchol binds to that particular receptor, and it prevents things from happening in that particular regard. But it also reduces what we call zombie cells, these senescent brain cells. These are cells that are there. They should normally have died a natural death, but they don't. That's why they call them zombie cells. So fenchol is a good way to inhibit the neurotoxic, the damaging toxins that get into the brain and cause problems with our neurotransmitters. Lectins. Lectins are proteins that bind to carbohydrates. They're found in grains and legumes and fruits and things, tomatoes and what. It's probably one of the most well-known. A lot of health issues with it. But they found out that there's some receptors that create problems with our memory and our mental function. and one of them is the C-type lectin-like receptor 2, and the mannan-binding lectin associate. And they both end up with a lot of cognitive decline issues. So the blood-brain barrier can be compromised by these lectins, and a lot of lectin, not observational studies, but studies that I've read, when you start having a lot of health issues, your risk of traumatic brain injury, stroke, other things, there's a connection there. So can lectins be a potential cause or a contributing factor to the progression? I think there's something there that, can be. So if you have a problem with lectins, it's affecting your health, probably wise to just keep on treating it and just avoid it. Uric acid levels. Typically, we treat too much uric acid, gout, and there's drugs out there for that. But they're finding out that low uric acid levels suggest a higher risk of Alzheimer's. And they're saying that the uric acid is an anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. So if I have low levels of it, it's not doing the job it needs to do with the free radical damage. So it's contributing to this oxidative stress, accelerating the Alzheimer's disease. So the higher the level, even though your risk of gout is in there, the higher level of uric acid actually is neuroprotective. So there's some issues there that if you're having Alzheimer's issues and gout at the same time, something to talk to your doctor about. Zonulin. I did a lot of talks with zonulin and I think of the other topic. Anyway, zonulin is a protein, and it's a protein in your gut, and it regulates how big the holes are in your intestines that allows your digestive foods to pass through the walls of the intestine and get in through the immune system and into your bloodstream, to your intestinal permeability. So when everything is working well, you have tiny, tiny little holes. But with zonulin is caused gluten. Gluten is one of the things that causes zonulin to go crazy in some people. And it makes these holes big. And so instead of just getting the nutrients out of the digested food, now you're getting a lot of toxins, a lot of other things getting into the bloodstream. So they're saying that gut-brain axis, if I have a dysfunction, that zonulin's really opening up holes in my immune system and just flooding my body with toxins, a possibility of having some brain injuries there. So leaky gut allows more toxins into the body and into the brain. So gut dysbiosis is, again, it's a disruption of the normal gut bacteria, can also create a leaky gut. But zonulin is involved in many, many health issues, so it's something to be aware of. Leptin. Leptin's a hormone. It regulates our appetite, so it's kind of connected to our stomach and our brain. We eat a little bit of stuff, it turns on leptin. Leptin talks to our brain, says, okay, slow down. So a lot of things there, but if they're finding people with high levels of leptin, they actually have a lower risk of Alzheimer's disease. So if I can reduce the amyloid beta and tau, the phosphorylation, the tangling part of that thing, through leptin high levels, why not? So it disrupts neural communication. Obesity is linked to a lot of leptin resistance, which increases your Alzheimer's disease. A lot of issues there. So leptin is one of those ones that may be a potential thing to work at. Okay, now we get down to what would I do? I've given you almost 24 probably things out there. No one cause, no one fix, a lot of contributing factors. As I said, today's presentation was for information only. Pick something that you like there, go look at it. If you have Alzheimer's or somebody there, talk to your doctor, talk to a professional about what can be done. But choose something that fits and works in your lifestyle. But do something. Just sitting there taking care of somebody, they're going to get worse with no change of lifestyle habits or diet or whatever. So anyway, what would I do? Probably try to do almost everything that's there that's possible. Some of these things are still under research, but in regards to what I do, try to eat healthy foods, the things you can't eat with the foods, get your supplements, and then just try to enjoy life. Catch you all next week. Take care now. Bye.
Meet Red O'Loughlin, TV show host, presenter, and author.
Howdy, y'all. Red O'Loughlin here. I'm a TV host on the USA Global TV and Radio Network.
Red has 3 weekly shows every Thursday.
I've been a TV host now with USA Global probably maybe just a little over 3 years. Probably, I know for sure, 250, 300 shows.
Join Red on the Corner Bookstore.
The Corner Bookstore is one where we talk to authors, publicists, publishers, editors, cover designers, anybody associated with the writing and authoring book production business. You have somebody in that area, I can help you with regard to getting your book done, getting it published, working with you on a cover. A lot of things I can help people with, and I have probably maybe published over 40 books for people so far.
Join Red on The Wise Ones.
On the Wise Ones, I'm looking for entrepreneurs, business owners, people who have wisdom, lessons learned over time that they can share with others. So please go to usaglobaltv.com, sign up, and join me there.
Book your session on usaglobaltv.com. Join Red on Talking Heads.
On Talking Heads, I take my experience. I fell in love with chemistry many years ago, got a degree in it, got an invitation to Vietnam, never practiced chemistry per se. But I did get a chance when my wife was going through chemo to get back into the chemical end of things. I started looking for cause and effect relationships. I had been working at a company doing cause and effect analysis on failures in the field on various products that we made. So I said, why not look at the cellular structure in the body? The chemicals are chemicals. They do certain things. So I take my knowledge of chemistry and research. I write about it. I speak about it. I have over 1,000 original content articles on LinkedIn, most of them dealing with some aspect of health or wellness. I speak on that topic quite often, and the Talking Head show is one that I concentrate my knowledge of health and wellness on in order to help people.
Red is a distinguished Toastmaster.
As a distinguished Toastmaster, I help people get their speeches developed. The presentation is something that I critique all the time with Toastmasters. It's one of those skills that I have. I can easily help you on that one. So from the position of writing, publishing, book coach, speaking, and being a keynote speaker at an event or virtually, depending on how things work out. But those are the things that I can help people with, and I have 3 shows every week here on the USA Global TV and Network, and please join me when you can. Appreciate it. Bye now.
Here are some of the books that Red has written and published. Contact Red at redolaughlin.com.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.